Tribe, Book 2, Todd Mills Mystery. Author, R.D. Zimmerman. Publisher, Scrib Pub, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 7. "Oh my God, Janice, did you see that?" asked Todd, leaning over the steering wheel of the Grand Cherokee and staring up at the dark sky in amazement. "That was it again! Lightning!" Before she could reply, an earthquake-like rumble shook the air. The ground, the car, the stoplight had turned green, but neither Todd nor the car next to him moved. Passengers in both cars, like the patrons of the small pizzeria across the street, who were pressed against the glass, stared up at the heavens. "That was so cool," he said. Bundled tightly in her wool coat, Janice blotted her eyes with the back of her gloved hands. "Thunder in winter, it's not right, particularly January. Maybe in November or March, at the beginning or ending of winter. But not now, not in January. It's gotten warmer, but it's still too cold for something like that. Maybe it's going to do it a third time," said Todd, still studying the sky. "Come on, let's go. It scares me." "But it's so great." "Todd, I want to get home," she urged in a desperate voice that he knew only too well. "Todd, I'm going home tomorrow, and then off to Europe," she said, locking the door of her room. "Who knows when we'll see each other again, if ever." "But aren't you worried?" he asked, almost desperately. "I mean, isn't it a bit dangerous?" "No, it's all part of a cycle, and it's okay. For a few days now, I can't get pregnant. I'm not fertile." He didn't quite understand it. This timing stuff, all he knew was that on the way up here, she'd said she wanted to do it, to make love. It was her farewell present to him, to them. This was what he wanted, wasn't it? Sure, he'd said, nodding, feeling that as a guy he couldn't really respond otherwise, and at the same time trying desperately not to let her see his fear. Now he watched slender Janice as she lit a candle and turned off the overhead light. Next, she thumbed through some records, found a Carly Simon one, and put on a very same song that they danced to downstairs. Then she was next to him, kissing the side of his neck, rubbing his thigh. He reached out, his movements awkward, stilted. Oh, shit! Would he be able to do it? What if he couldn't? Even get hard? "Todd, what is it? What's the matter?" I'm just nervous, that's all." Unable to stop himself, he started shaking. Ever gentle, Janice ran one hand down his back and asked, "Are you cold, or is it something else?" If only he could tell her. This past week since Greg had died had just been so horrible. He clenched his eyelids shut, felt his eyes swell up. Oh, Jesus, was he going to start crying right here, right now? "No, don't. You can't." He just wanted to tell her everything that had happened that night. How he'd been about. Could she forgive him? To do it again with Pat? How he'd run downstairs and out back? How he'd looked up and... "Todd?" asked Janice softly. He had to say something, but all he could manage was a different truth, albeit a very revealing one, and with a nervous laugh he said, "Hey, I haven't done it before. I'm a virgin." "Oh," she lifted his hand and kissed it. There's a lot going on in that thick skull of yours." "No kidding." He tried to manage a grin. "What about you? Have you done it?" "Actually, I have," she said with a slight nod. "But you know what? I think we're an awful lot alike." "What?" "Nothing," she said, as she reached for the top button of her blouse. "Listen, I don't care if we don't do it. Let's just get naked and get under the blankets. It's so cold outside," and before Todd knew it, they had in fact stripped away their clothing and were lying naked in her bed, their warm bodies pressed close to each other. He was amazed at how smooth she felt, so soft and pure. He took it all in, the gentle sculpt of her back, her long, thin arms. "You're a nice guy, Todd," she volunteered, unable to say anything. He squeezed her tightly, pressing his firm chest against her soft one. If he was so nice, why had he had sex with another guy, and why hadn't he told the police just what he might or might not have seen that night Greg had died? He knew that Tone feared it, and he pressed on the gas. Glancing at her, he saw that her eyes were still misty with tears. What the hell was all this about? Janice had never been one to let something smolder. "Come on out with it," said Todd, wearing a puffy beige down jacket. "I haven't seen you this upset in years, if ever." "Like I said, I'll tell you when we get home. But it's about the baby." She hesitated. "Yes, Todd, it's about the baby." The thunder seemed to have ripped open the sky, and the snow was now falling so thickly that he couldn't see even a half block ahead. There weren't that many cars out, mainly four-wheel drive vehicles like Todd's, and everyone slowed to a near crawl. It still took a major storm to shut down things. Last year, a 12-inch snowfall had only slowed things for a morning, and Todd wondered if this would be it, the storm of the year. He guessed that almost 10 inches had fallen so far, so this would have to keep up all night to really affect things. "Oh, shit," moaned Janice. "It's going to take forever to get home." "We'll get there." "We should never have gone out." "Janice, you haven't been away from that baby in 5 days. "Oh, I hope Jeff knows how to handle her." "Of course he does. That old queen's great with kids. He's the perfect grandmother. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that he's cooing some lullaby in her ear even as we speak." "I doubt it. He mentioned he'd had to rehearse a new piece for the drag show at the Gay Times," she said, referring to the huge bar downtown where Jeff performed. "He's probably got my stereo cranked so loud that Ripka can't even get to sleep." "Dear God, Janice, just chill, would you? We'll get there." He eyed her. "You don't have a new lover, do you?" "What?" "You know, a girlfriend. Like a girlfriend with a baby that she happened to dump on you for a while?" "Hardly." "So what is this, a midlife crisis?" "Who knows?" She scraped away some of the ice on the side window and stared out. "I mean, all of a sudden everything's coming into focus. For the first time I'm seeing everything I did wrong, and now I'm wondering what I've ever done right." "Yep, that's it. A full-blown midlife crisis," Todd laughed. "Which means I'm going to have some company." When Michael died, Todd had realized for the first time that his own career ambitions weren't so much based on working towards a goal as they were on proving something. That's what had driven him in his television work, trying to show himself that everyone liked him even though he was gay. He felt something on his thigh, looked down, saw Janice's gloved hand resting there, placing his right hand on top of hers. He squeezed. He said, "It's going to be okay. For the immediate future, at least." He was speaking too quickly. Just as he was approaching the intersection of Hennepin and West 28th Street, a small car appeared out of nowhere and ran the stoplight. "Todd!" screamed Janice. "Oh, shit!" Clutching the steering wheel, he furiously pumped brakes. The Cherokee fishtailed on the slick road, and Todd steered to the left and then the right to compensate. But it was too little avail, and Todd watched his Cherokee close in on the other car. As if in slow motion, it flashed through his mind. Mazda. He was going to smash directly into the driver's door, or that little two-door Mazda reflexively. Todd wrenched the steering wheel to the right. "Hang on!" he shouted to Janice, his large vehicle swerving to the side, somehow missing the Mazda, but in turn steering directly toward a parked car. Todd oversteered a second time, and then he found himself shooting onto the sidewalk and into a large snowbank, which his Cherokee hit with a deep, forceful thud. A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.